So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Nikki Foster, who's director at Fresh Thinking Agency. So, Nikki, firstly, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you could introduce yourself, Fresh Thinking Agency, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So it's Fresh Thinking Advisory, and basically, we are a specialist debt advisory firm. We're focused on the SME market. So our goal is to help businesses, primarily throughout the north,
Yep.
who are looking at securing funding. So they're looking at raising cash, usually always pretty much to grow. So
Great.
they need funding to grow their business. They don't know where to access that. They might have talked to their bank manager in the past and they're just not sure what else is out there. And that funding market right now is really varied. It's growing daily. There are new lenders popping up daily, and people just don't really know where to go at the
Yep.
moment. It's quite difficult. I think there's a there's a niche element, which is where we sit in that kind of SME space. So think companies that are looking to raise maybe 5 to 50 million is maybe the sweet spot.
Yep.
So businesses with like 1 million plus EBITDA,
Yep.
who are looking to raise funding. So that's the market
Yep.
that we serve. Most of those businesses are throughout Yorkshire and the Northwest and around this region.
Yep.
Um, and it could be for anything. So it could be that they're looking to restructure, that they want to do an MBO, that there's a new property or a new manufacturing plant they want to purchase, or restructuring. It could be for anything, but that
Brilliant.
business wants to raise capital and they're not sure how to go about getting it. And they don't just want to go to, there's a really active market of brokers throughout the north,
Yep.
who will obviously take them to market. So you might go speak to a broker and they'll go find out how they can get that lending for you.
Yep.
But what they don't do is the piece up front. And that's where we work with our clients to really help them understand sort of where the business is going, what the strategy is. We'll shape that funding strategy for them,
Yep.
prepare the business to go to market, help
Yes.
with cash flow forecasts and everything like that, and really make sure that we're creating a compelling story
Brilliant.
before we go and take that to market. And then we'll align them with the right funders. So
Brilliant.
it's a journey that we're on with them. We're working as an extension of their team and then taking them to market to get that funding.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's so helpful. I work with lots of businesses, and their only view of funding is go to the bank. And unfortunately nowadays, it tends to be computer says no in most of the time. Sorry, go on.
No, I think it's that the size of market, because if you're a large corporate, you're likely surrounded by a really big team of advisors.
Yes,
You're in one of the big four, or you've got a really good team around you, and they have great debt advisory services within that. So
yes,
you're getting that as part of the service from your advisory team. Whereas in that SME space, you just don't really know where to go. You'll have an accountant, you'll have an FD, um, but if those people haven't been through this process
yes.
before and they're not living or breathing it, so, we are in the space, we are talking to
Yep.
funders, lenders on a daily basis. We know the appetite, we know what the market looks like, and we know kind of the art of the possible for you and your business. So that's kind of like where we
Brilliant,
sit.
brilliant. It's fabulous, and I meet so many business owners um that don't. I often find I have to say, look, growth typically costs money. So either you have to generate that, which means your growth will be limited by how much cash you can generate, or ultimately, especially on this sort of smaller side of the SME, it comes out of your time. You will have to work 24/7 for the next 5 years to replace the cash. But if we just see funding as fuel for growth, then all of a sudden I think it helps people realize this isn't anything other than a tool we need most of the time to grow effectively and as much as we probably can, if that makes sense.
100%. And I think it's understanding what's what the possibilities are
Yes.
and what that's going to cost you,
Yes.
and having somebody who can sit alongside you and guide you as to what's right for you in your business
Yep.
based on strategically where you're trying to go, as
Yes.
opposed to you just thinking, no, we can't do that, or we
Yep.
need to, we need to get PE involved, or, I think I was talking to someone the other day, actually, an interesting chap, and he'd been at a round table where there were six SME businesses who'd taken equity on board and six who'd taken debt on board.
Yes.
And it's really fascinating because he was saying the guys who'd taken debt couldn't understand why the others had taken equity and let someone in, if you like, and let
Yep.
them eat at the table and a piece of the
Yep.
pie. But the ones who'd taken the equity couldn't understand why they would want debt in the business, because debt's an ugly word, right? And
Yep.
it doesn't sound like you're taking it on board for growth. So both absolutely have a place to play. And it's just making sure that it's the right funding for your business, isn't it, to get you where you want to get to.
Absolutely. It is, yeah, no, it's fascinating. It always brings to mind, we have these beliefs that can be limiting about things like debt. I mean, it always brings me back. We have, as an organization, we developed a business board game many, many years ago. And part of that, as you take your business around, you grow your business effectively, is you have access to funding. And it's a very simple, it's a bit like Monopoly for business. But so if you're able to, it basically says if you've got the ability to raise capital, it uses an overdraft. So I appreciate that's not as relevant, but basically it's a fixed fee to get your overdraft of, let's say, in this business, £100,000. So to overdraft, it costs you this much, but it's a fixed fee. It's not particularly sophisticated, and the
Yeah.
number of conversations I see people playing a game, and they go, well, we only need 50 grand. So let's just pay our 10 grand and get 50. And
Yeah.
and I'm looking at them and I don't question it because it's really important, but I question them after, say, look, the same 5 grand would have got you 100. And there's no interest charges. It's very but we only need, and that sort of real scarcity about, but we shouldn't take debt on. And obviously there's good debt and bad debt, but debt for growth is so, I think, critical in so many businesses.
100%. And if you're backing yourself and your journey and you can get the funding to do that and make it and then some in the
Yes.
future, then take it on board, get that growth, pay it off. And we want to be with our clients on that journey. We very much see it ourselves as aligned as their strategic advisors from a debt funding
Yes.
perspective throughout their journey. We want to start working with somebody tomorrow and constantly advise them and tell them, okay, that's not the right debt for you now. We need to be moving that here, and you're in a different place, and always making sure that, that what they do have is right for them and that they're not paying over the odds, and, that it
Yes.
satisfies what they need it for.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's such an important thing that people consider at every point in their growth process. So Nikki, but maybe if we start with looking back on your background, if you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and why this particular one for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. My background's quite varied. So I think I view my kind of working life, my working career, as in chapters.
Yep,
I'm on chapter 4 right now,
brilliant.
so not as young as I used to be, unfortunately. A few wrinkles and sleepless nights along the way. But I think right back at the beginning, I did an economics degree, didn't know what to do when I graduated, and joined a financial services firm called Chase de Vere Investments, who are a brilliant firm based in Bath. So I was a girl from the Midlands, got this job as one of 12 people on a graduate training scheme for Chase in Bath.
Yep,
Took myself, moved down there, totally outside of my comfort zone, just kind of going somewhere new on my own. I didn't know anybody, and joined this graduate training scheme. And and for me, that was kind of the making, I would say, of me and how I view business, how I shape things. My values, my
yep,
ethos, and how I apply myself. And I think that grounding for me was critical. They're a fantastic company. The training was ace. The team were just, I mean, the 12 of us were brilliant. We just had fun. It
brilliant,
was very much work hard, play hard. Back
brilliant.
in the day when I didn't have children and all the other responsibilities that come with growing up. But they gave me a lot of chances, and they gave me they gave me a lot of responsibility very early, and I learned that if you if you work really hard and do all the right things, and you're in the right environment, that people trust you and people
Yes.
will give you more responsibility, and you can start to do great things. So I think I've always been determined,
Yeah.
even as a child. I've always been quite sort of rushed with everything, and so it's kind of slowing down is one of the key things I'm learning, or I'm learning as I've got older.
Brilliant.
But even as a kid, my mum always used to say to me, "Breathe, Nikki." So whatever I was doing, she'd always put hands on my shoulders and just say, "Breathe." And
Brilliant.
so throughout my life, throughout my career, I think I'm trying to do that more and tell myself that. But back in the day when I joined Chase, it was 100 miles an hour, trying to do everything, but it was great. And it
Yep.
started me off on a really good trajectory. So I very quickly was advising some of their top clients, was kind of in the top 10 advisor, winning like best outstanding contribution to the company and all these kind of things. So doing good. And I was there for 7 years and I loved it. My last 2 years there, I was kind of working alongside another woman called Anna Bowes, who's awesome as kind of company spokespeople. And
Yep.
so I was on, working lunch, BBC breakfast, things like that, talking about our thoughts on the markets, what we thought was happening in the economy, and on what was happening with investments and where you should be putting your money and that kind of thing. So it was a really exciting thing, and really quickly, sort of 5 years into my career, I'd been thrown into the limelight and starting to talk about us as a business. So my career kickstarted pretty early, and I think that gave me confidence
Yep.
that if they believe in me, I can do
Yes.
anything. So I think 2 years after, or 3 years after I'd kind of been doing that role, so I was there about 7 to 8 years in the end. They got bought out by Bank of Ireland.
Yeah.
We had share options, so I decided with what to do with mine. So I was 27 at the time, and I was married. I got married at 24. I was like a child bride. But we decided to take the money, sell our flat, and go travelling. We knew we were going to settle down and have a family at some point, and we were like, "Let's. If we don't do this now, this feels
Yep.
like quite a crucial period." So we did. We went travelling for a year, came back. My husband got a job in Leeds. He's from Yorkshire,
Yep.
so I think it was planned. He promises me it wasn't, but I think he always wanted to come back here. It's got a pull, hasn't it? Once you're here, you don't want to leave, and
No.
once you're away, you want to come back. So
Absolutely.
we're talking 2004 now. So I've
Yep.
been 21 years. I'm hoping I'm classed as, one of their own now. I think I'm an honorary Northerner.
Yes.
I think that counts. But so I came up here, joined Coops Private Bank. I was a
Yep.
private banker there for 6 years. So I was
Yep.
on Park Square. So my first role in Leeds was on Park Square East, advising people on what to do with their finances
Yep.
and looking after them. So, and I loved that. So I had that chapter one of my life was what I classed as my introduction to finance, sort of
Yep.
12, 13 years in financial services, you know, some really good roles, really great brands, really great grounding. Um, Chapter two hit and was probably a hard turning point for me because my mum got ill. I
Mm.
had a 1 and a 3-year-old. Um, I was working at Coots, great job, loved it, lots of hours, but lots of great clients who I classed as friends by that point as well. But I couldn't do it all. And I had a 1 and a 3-year-old, as I say, and my mum had got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I had to make a decision on what I wanted to do. And I decided I wanted to be there for my mum. I wanted to be there for the kids. This was a time when we didn't have the flexibility of working that we do
Yes.
now. So I did take that tough decision and I left Coots, and then it was kind of a what now stage. And I didn't really know what to do because all I'd ever done was work in financial services.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't want to do nothing, but I needed to do something that was flexible and that
Yeah.
allowed me to be there. But as I've said, I'm not someone that can stand still. So bizarrely, I decided to set up a wedding and event planning business.
Right.
Totally unrelated. You're thinking, what? So, but I do my own thing, something for but something that could work alongside the kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, planned my own wedding. I've planned friends' weddings. I've been involved because I always get involved in things. I've been involved in things quite a lot, and so I just thought, let's give it a go. I believe that you can become an expert in anything if you really want to. If you want it
Yes.
enough and you're prepared to put the time in, then you know you can make yourself an expert in anything. So I did some UK Alliance of Wedding Planner training, put myself through that, and fantastic association that is, and then set up a wedding and event planning company in the north. And it was brilliant. And I did it for 6 years and
Brilliant.
probably planned, don't know, over 30, 35 maybe, luxurious weddings, very big budget, beautiful weddings. It
Brilliant.
was incredible because I got to use things like budgeting skills, negotiating,
Yep.
planning, managing the whole day, you know, sort of making everything run like clockwork, as
Yes.
well as navigating people and running a business. So all of those things, I was FD, MD,
Yep.
uh, or marketing department, all of the things you have to do when you're running your own business. You know, your viewers will
Yep.
know all about this. So I was taking a lot on board, but I loved it. I loved the buzz of it. It taught me how an entrepreneur thinks. You know, I've been looking after entrepreneurs when I was at Coots for
Yes.
many years. And this kind of really put me inside their heads and
Yes.
helped me understand what that is. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But after 7 years, I decided that I needed to get back to the real world. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? But the reality is there's only so much people in Yorkshire will pay for a wedding planner.
Yep.
Um, I'd done a lot of big corporate events as well. So a lot of my clients that I'd had previously, I'd kept really good relationships with. And I think this taught me about trust because you trust a person. I very much believe that in business, you have to speak to people, you have to get out there, you
Yeah.
have to network, and that's when you build that trust with people. You know, I've been advising a lot of these people on their finances, banking, lending, finances, financial planning for many years, and tax planning. And then they were trusting me to deliver their pride and joy, their children's weddings, you know. So a lot of my initial weddings in that first couple of years actually came from old
Brilliant.
clients from Coots and Shakespeare, which was fantastic.
Brilliant.
But it taught me that relationships is what is key in business. But chapter two closed because my kids got a bit older and I felt I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't grow that business and, being blunt, earn enough money out of it to have the lifestyle that we wanted. I've got to
Right.
be honest, doing that. So I decided to go back to working for corporates and
Yep.
again getting out and talking to people. You know, I've always been somebody who's like prolific networker, I suppose. Try and talk to as many people as you can, get yourself out as much as you can. And I was at a cricket event and I started talking to this guy who I'd been introduced to. He had a printing business over in Bingley, and he said, "Well, why don't you come and help us?" I was like, "Well, what? I mean, obviously, I'm not into printing, but what do you want me to do?" And he was like, "Well, help us from an awareness perspective, help growers, help from a BD and sales perspective,
Yep.
and see what you think." So I was like, "I'm not sure." So I kind of carried on with the wedding planning and the ones that I had on, but not marketing anymore, whilst doing sort of 2, 3 days a week for them. And I realized that actually I'm pretty good at helping, at seeing what a business needs to grow and seeing things that I can help them with. And so I started doing that. So chapter three is the last 9 years I have been helping companies to grow essentially. So I'll
Brilliant.
go in, understand what they're doing and help devise that kind of sales marketing strategy and just help them in the market that they're
Yep.
in to grow. And it's been fascinating.
Brilliant.
But this, so fresh thinking, as you'll see behind me, there is fresh thinking group,
Yep.
which is the white. So we have fresh thinking group. Within that, we have fresh thinking capital,
Right.
and then we've got the advisory side, which is where I sit.
Yes.
We've also got fresh thinking network and fresh thinking property. So we're a group with these brands underneath there.
Brilliant.
But the advisory side, I actually met Mel. So Mel and Andrew, so Mel Hurd and Andrew Wars are the founders of Fresh Thinking Group.
Yep.
I was introduced to them And Mel and I hit it off and kind of spent a lot of time together. And she said, "Will you come in and help advisory, work within advisory as a director, and help that business to grow?" So that is my role. My
Yep.
my role here, very much is, I'm responsible for that brand, for advisory, for the understanding of what we do in the marketplace, because there's quite uh, a lack of awareness, I guess, of the depth of the work that goes into the advisory work
Yeah.
that is possible. If you picture it, if you're a SME business owner, I don't know, you've got a manufacturing business or whatever, you're not necessarily going to know that there's the opportunity to sit down with somebody like us and have those
Yep.
conversations. So my one of my tasks is to try and bring that market awareness to everybody, to make people know that that's there. So, if you're not in one of your already big advisory firms, because you're not a large corporate, and you don't want to just go to a broker who will take you to, certain numbers.
Yes.
I'm not slamming the broking community here, by the
No.
way. They're great, and they
All good.
absolutely is a place and everything. But it's quite niche what we do, that all
Yeah.
of that kind of pre-work before taking them out to market. So I think it's just the awareness. And so, yeah, so that's my role, is to network, to talk to people, to
Brilliant.
come out with sort of the sales and marketing plan, and to really help to grow this business. So I'm back in finance now, which I love,
Yep.
albeit corporate finance as opposed to personal finance, which is where I
Yes.
started.
Yes.
But I feel like my home is finance. I feel like I've come home. Not only that, I'm back on Park Square. So I started with
Brilliant.
Chase. Well, I started with, when I joined Coops in Leeds, it was on Park Square East. I'm now on Park Square West. So it kind of feels like I've just come full circle. I'm back home, and this is where I'm meant to be.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's what an interesting journey. It's and as you
Quite a long
say,
answer.
say again.
That was quite a long answer, wasn't it?
It's
Sorry.
quite no, please don't apologize. Really interesting journey, and but it was really interesting, as you say, the connection between different things. And as you say, your experience in the wedding planning business gives you that better understanding of entrepreneurial people, what's going on, the whole range of things we need to understand to be able to run a business effectively.
100%. And I think actually the two things in that journey that I probably missed are, a few years ago, I helped. So Alex Vogel at EY, she's a brilliant woman in the region. She was setting up a charity called Business Beats Cancer Yorkshire. So part of Cancer Research UK, they wanted regional leaders essentially to
Yep.
set up these charities locally to raise funds from the business community.
Yep.
And so Alex came to me and said, "Will you be my vice chair when we set this up?" So I kind of set up that inaugural board for Business Beats Cancer Yorkshire, and we worked on that together. I was on the board for 3 years, absolutely fantastic, loved it, planned loads of events, did the ball, I set up the first golf day, and raised a lot of money over that period. And then after 3 years, I decided to step down. So Alex is bloody amazing. Sorry, am I allowed to say that? She's still
You are.
doing it. She's still out there. She's still chairing it, and there's sort of different board members come and
Brilliant.
go that fits in with kind of life.
Yes.
But the reason I stopped doing that is because with my husband, I set up a business called Clubhouse Leaders.
Yes.
So that's something slightly different, but that's a golf networking business.
Right. Brilliant.
So fresh thinking advisory is like I say, I don't like to stand still. I always like to have lots of different hats on. Fresh thinking advisory is my full-time job,
Yep.
but a lot of what I do is getting out there and talking to people and networking. And I
Yes.
firmly believe that, the North is like a small village. We all want to share work around
Yes.
each other and try and keep it here if we can. And therefore, Stephen and my husband and I both play a lot of golf. He works at Square Patton Boggs, so he's at law firm. He does a lot of kind of corporate development networking. And so we set this up with a view to
Brilliant.
bringing business leaders, business owners, or senior people in professional services roles together to put them on a course together. And so we run that as well.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I'm not sure when I do that, but I'm not sure when I've got time to do that. But it works. You just make it work, don't you?
You just make it absolutely make it work, and I think the closer. what we do aligns with our passions, the easier that becomes, because the line between work and joy just get
Yeah.
merged, don't they? If you really enjoy, I think there's the old phrase about, if you do what you love, then you'll never spend a day, you never do another day's work in your life, sort of thing. And clearly, you enjoy what you do, which is wonderful to see. Uh, so looking at growth in general, whether across the different businesses you worked in, what are some of the biggest learnings about growing businesses?
It's it's a difficult thing to say because I think it's about surrounding yourself with the right people,
Yeah, great.
internally and externally. And so I think from that, what I mean is if you're employing people to work with you, I wouldn't always hire based on what you see on a piece of paper, what a CV says, or just. I will hire on gut feel, and I won't necessarily hire the person who has the best skill set on paper. I'll hire the person who I know has got the grit and determination to put the hard work in
Yeah,
and get it done. I said at the beginning, I believe you can, if you want to, you can learn anything and you can become an expert in anything with the right training or with the right people around you. And that's what I do. I personally, I'm not a debt specialist, clearly. That is not my role in this business.
yeah,
My role in this business is to help it to grow, to shape the business, to lead from the top, and to bring those people together. I have another advisor who works alongside me, and we're partners in this, Oliver Rees, who is absolutely fantastic. His role is the deal delivery.
yeah,
Um, him and the wider team. So he heads up that side of it, and I will head up the other side of the business. So you need to bring people together that complement each other and that know their strengths. And I won't try and get involved in the things, I don't try and get involved in that deal delivery piece. I'll be there holding our clients' hands every step of the
yeah,
way and making sure from a care perspective they're getting what they need, but I'm not going to get involved in the detail because
yeah,
that's not what my expertise is. So stay in your lane, I guess, is what I would say. To grow, stay in your lane and let things go. Know that you're bringing an expert in for a reason,
yeah.
whatever that is, and let them run with it. And I think that's the hardest lesson probably I've learned because you can't be everything to all people,
No.
but you want to try to be. And I think that's quite difficult.
Yeah, I think so. I think as you say, know yourself and just know what we're good at and what we're less good at, and I think being authentic about that, just say, look, I've got this person over here because this isn't my expertise or speciality or even interests. I mean, perhaps don't want to be quite so um, clear about that, but it's just not my thing. But it is their thing. So let's. I think it's Brian Tracy. I love a guy called Brian Tracy talks about the most successful organizations, teams, businesses are the ones where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at. And find somebody else to do the other stuff because for everything that we don't like, there's someone else that loves it.
And there is a 100%. I don't want my head stuck in a spreadsheet. Absolutely not. Um, but Oliver loves it. That's where he finds the detail. That's where the magic happens for him. But for me, the magic
Absolutely.
happens out there talking to people. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you're speaking of generality of external support. I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. So I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
I'm allowed to say my mum. Is that a bit too twee?
Definitely allowed to say mum, 100%. You'll be surprised. I would think over 50% of the people I interview relate to a parent. So all good.
Yeah, I think in lots of ways she taught me to work hard. I didn't grow up in a big house in a big affluent area. I grew up in a in a steel town in a council estate essentially, and she and my dad instilled that determination in my brother and I that we could do good things if we
Yeah,
worked really hard. And our school wasn't fantastic. In fact, it's been closed down now. But we both did really well, and I genuinely think that founding came from them. And that's why I want to be the best mum I can, the best, the best at everything that I do in my life. I want to do it to my all because I want to make her proud. I want
Yeah,
the legacy to be that I gave everything a really good shot and
brilliant.
dedicate myself to it. So, mum telling me to breathe, it, I don't take that flippantly. She used to say it all the time, and I've actually got it tattooed on my ankle with a feather since she passed away
Brilliant.
because it reminds me when I'm going crazy at the rate of knots, I need to look at that because otherwise I'm going to get ill. I'm
Yeah,
going to get sad. I'm going to be exhausted, and I'm not going to be able to perform at an optimum level for my for work,
yeah,
for my family,
yeah,
for my husband, for all of the things that make a life. I'm not going to be able to do
yeah.
that. So it's really important that I think, take that message and do those things. Yeah. Mm.
Brilliant, lovely. Well, great. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And whether it's from your mum or other sources, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings you catch yourself using a lot about business or success or life in general?
Yeah. So I think um, well, it's been attributed. This one's been attributed, I think, to Gary Player, Arnold Palmer, Jerry Barber. They're all golfers,
Yep,
obviously. And it's the harder I practice, the luckier I get. And I just think that message, and I'll repeat that to people that I work with or on my children. Is basically saying you can't rest on your laurels. People tell you that you've been lucky in life. People tell you that, oh, you're
no,
lucky, you're running a successful business, or you've got a great team around you, or whatever it is that people tell you, you're like, actually, yeah, the harder I've worked at this, the luckier I'm getting, the better things are
yeah,
getting for me. Because actually, it's all about put the hard yards in. You have to put the hard yards in. A lot of people don't see that, and they
yeah,
think actually you're you're just coasting along
yeah,
the surface but you're like a swan, aren't you? You're paddling furiously
yes,
underneath to get to where you've got to. Overnight success stories are very rare in business, and it's great reading about them when you do, but it's not the norm. And I think,
no,
there are a lot of people out there who think they're owed um, owed that success and they're owed that overnight story because it's so publicized nowadays. But I think really you just got to knuckle down and do the work at the end of the day.
100%. 100%. I think you're absolutely right. I think for every, so as you say, the sort of rags to riches overnight success story that you read about, there's 100,000 that didn't make it, and that don't. That it's all about hard work, and even some of the what are quoted as overnight successes have actually worked hard for 20 years. They've just hit that acceleration point, and so no, I couldn't agree more. And on the same
I've
sort of,
got one more. Can I drop one more
oh
in?
please,
It's
yeah, absolutely. I love collecting
my
quotes.
favorite quote of all time. It's from Marilyn Monroe. And it says, imperfection is beauty, madness is genius,
Yep,
and it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. And that, to me, says be yourself. Because I think that's the most important thing. A lot of people, when they go
yeah,
into business environment, they'll be themselves at home, but then they'll go into a business environment and they'll not be true to that. They'll not
yeah,
be their authentic self. They'll put a face on. And I get that in certain situations there might be a need for that with certain clients, but it's exhausting doing that all the time. I
yes,
used to try to do it, and that's a lesson. I used to try hard, especially when I was young and I was advising people on what to do with their millions. And I felt, oh, imposter syndrome, I'm too young to be doing all of this. I wasn't being my authentic self. And I think it's a real lesson. So the earlier you can learn that, it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring.
yep,
It really is. And people remember you for the
yes.
ridiculous. People remember you for those things.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, it's. I think it's. yeah, we've got to stand out in some way. If we don't stand out, then we're just, we're in the noise, and we're not going to get noticed. So
It's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard to stand out in in saturated markets. It's very rare that somebody comes along with a brand new product or service or something
yeah,
that people haven't seen before. So you have to, it's you that makes it stand
yeah,
out as the business owner and as the team you build around you.
absolutely. And alongside the sort of quotes, do you have any favourite books or podcasts that you listen to or read regularly or watch that you can recommend on successful personal development?
Gosh, I think there's so many. There are so many great people out there that you can read. I mean, I listen to Mel Robbins
Yeah,
quite a lot. I like her approach, and she's certainly a no nonsense approach to life, and
yeah,
I really, I really do like that. I think it is about. I mean, she's very much about kind of being authentic and being who you are,
yes,
and all of those things. I think I listen to so many different people that I can't just pull out
it's
one
all good.
specific thing.
It's all good. It's funny you say about authenticity that and quotes. Somebody interviewed a few weeks ago. She said, and I loved it. And it's sort of stuck in my mind was be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Oh yeah, that's
I was just
really
saying, it's great.
true.
Yeah, it's like, why would you want to be somebody else? And however, I say it now flippantly, but I think many people, including myself, spent a long time trying to be pieces of other people rather than just go, well, actually, despite all the faults, there's lots of benefits too of being who we are. And
Yeah, it's hard though, isn't it? As you're growing up, when you're younger,
yeah,
it's everyone conforms. Even school teaches us that we have to conform
conformity, 100%.
on or whatever. So I think stepping outside of that is brave. And
Yeah,
so that being brave in business,
yeah,
be bold, be brave, it's not an easy thing to do, but it is how you get noticed and how you
yeah.
stand out. So yeah.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And Nikki, I'm keen to know what you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far.
Be resilient. I guess resilience is the key because, and I think I can make tough decisions.
Yep.
Uh, because it wasn't easy walking away from that role at Coots, that, really
Yes.
nice role, nice clients, nice brand, nice paycheck. It was tough walking away from that. And I look back now and I know that was the right thing to do.
Yep.
I was there with my mum all the way through. I saw my kids.
Brilliant.
I didn't drop them off at nursery all the time. They were
Brilliant.
there. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but for me it was right.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a believer in you create the life that you want to live, whatever that is, and don't let other people judge you for it.
Yep.
So for me, I wanted to be there for my children. Yes, I had to then go and set up a wedding and event planning business because I couldn't do nothing and go stir crazy. For others, they wouldn't have needed that. They would have just wanted to be home for the children and with their mum.
Yeah.
For others, they'd have carried on working and made it work and made it fit in. It's that, what's right for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's like anything. I mean, Simon Sinek, we were talking about, but that start with why is I think everybody's kind of read that, and it's a really great message in
Yeah.
anything that you're doing, anything you're thinking. Why are you doing it? What's the
Yeah.
reasoning behind it? And yeah, and has it got longevity? I think is the key.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Uh,
Uh, so I was saying
What I was going to say is one thing I have started doing recently. When you were saying what have you learned about yourself, um, I was so Mel here is quite keen on everybody sort of doing a lot of introspection and working on yourself as well. And I think I sort of started doing a bit of work on that and looking at my purpose compass, and sort of all those good things, but
yeah.
also all of those things that you need to say no to. And I think they're the
Yeah.
things I've learned. So the things like working myself to exhaustion
Yeah.
to keep everybody happy,
Yeah.
uh, learning the things that I don't need to take the responsibility for. I think
Yes.
that's been my hardest lesson throughout all of this. And I'd say that to any business owner that there are certain things that are not necessarily your pressure,
Yeah,
your burden to carry, but we tend to assimilate everything and carry it all. And
yeah,
because we're busy working on the business and in the business, we feel that burden of letting family things slip,
yeah,
or there's always something that you could feel guilty about. And I've spent a lot of time of my life stressing and feeling guilty about things I've not been doing because I've been working on something
yeah,
else. And I think it's learning to let that go. I think as you get older, you realize that you're doing it for a reason. And if you have that in mind, if you know what that is, you've got that purpose, the reason for this is to make this life better for your family, or
yeah.
to ensure that they have a legacy for you to hand down. So whatever it is, if you know that reason and you keep reminding yourself of it, then it helps lift that burden, and
Yeah.
it helps you to not feel as stressed and to not need a massage every week and all of
Yeah,
those.
absolutely. Brilliant. I suppose that comes along the line. I was going to say, so in Actually Coach, one of our definitions of a true business, where it becomes from, sort of moving through that sort of SME route, I guess, is when it becomes a commercial profitable enterprise that works without its owners. So it's
Yeah.
when we get that independence. I'm really interested to get your view of that from both sort of your own experiences, but I guess in terms of financing and looking at financing an organization, how important would you say is it that the owners can be more independent of the day-to-day operation of a business?
Think it's key, because they might not always be there, and it's a hard thing to say. So
Yes.
it needs to stand up without them. If
Yep.
you've got funders looking at investing, and this is why I say you can't just. So a lot of businesses looking to raise debt funding
Yep.
would just go to market and see what they can get. And the market might look at it and go, no, that the numbers don't stack up.
Yep.
Um, but if there's a bigger story to tell,
Yep.
if there's a story behind that, and that could be this, this is our growth plan. These are the people in the business right now managing it. This is the strategy for making sure that this business has the longevity. There's a big team around them. These guys
Yep.
can be taken out and it still stands up and we're still profitable and all of that. And let's face it, some businesses are better without the owners in them because they've been in them for so long that actually they need to be told to step away a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I find a lot of business owners are entrepreneurial in spirit, and a lot of them are great starters. They're great at founding and making something happen and getting to a point, but they're not necessarily great runners of businesses. They're not get operators business over the long term because for lots of reasons, they get bored. They're looking for the next thing. They're trying, and so it is that opportunity and to start it, launch it, get it stable, and then maybe pass on to somebody that can run it for the long term. And obviously, that gives them the time to step back and increase the value of their business and also the likelihood of being able to receive funding.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. And do you know what? That might be a time where they decide, I want to go and do something else. So
Yes.
this management team that we've carefully curated over time, who can now take this business forward, want to conduct an MBO and need the funding to do that. And Mr. Business Owner can get his payout,
Yeah.
sail off, set up a new business, whatever it is he wants to do, and we can help through that process. Companies like Fresh Thinking Advisory, that's one of the key things that we're here to set up and guide businesses when they're looking for that exit and helping them understand maybe how they can get there sooner by using
Yes.
debt funding to help them do it, as opposed to waiting till there's enough money in the business. So, there are
Brilliant.
lots of things, but I think it's key as a business owner, it's key to know when you're still really valuable, to know
Yep.
when to step away, and to know the things that can be done without you, because that allows you to focus more strategically, to focus on the next opportunity, whether that's your next opportunity elsewhere or whether that's your next opportunity within that business. So it could be that you're looking at a new service line, new products, whatever it is, but you've got opportunity to time to work strategically on that instead of just doing the things that you've always done, because you can hand that off to your team who you've curated and trust now to
Yes.
run that business. Mm.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, Nikki, it's been fascinating talking to you this afternoon, and thank you so much for your time. And I think there's a lot of food for thought for many people on many different subjects, but especially you've really, I think, opened, got helped us get under the bonnet a little bit about funding and why why it's so valuable to so many people for growing their businesses, and a really useful tool. And for anyone that's watching would like to get in touch with you or Fresh Thinking Advisory, what would be the easiest way to do that?
Literally just drop me an email. So it's Nikki, Nikki dot Foster at freshthinkingadvisory.co.uk. Pretty long email, but yeah, just drop me a direct email or go find our website, and drop us a message on there. But yeah, I am always happy at the end of the phone. I love talking to business owners. I love understanding their journey. And do you know what? Sometimes we'll go in and talk to companies, and it's not right for us to help them, but we've had a great conversation. We've maybe imparted a bit of knowledge, maybe equity's right for them, or we are very well connected, and can always put people in touch with the right people if we're not the solution.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, look, it'd be great to swing by another 6 to 12 months and just see the next stages of what you're doing and keep this conversation going. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome, no worries. And if anybody wants to join a great golf networking business, obviously there's Clubhouse leaders.
Sounds great. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.